Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Flock of Donkies, your Northwest Bias podcast. I am your co-host, Seahawks fan Adam Emmert, joined today with my good friend and Broncos fan, as always, Gerrad Tim. How's it going, buddy?
Good, man. Awesome. I'm outnumbered today, but that's all right.
You are outnumbered, and I'm glad you brought that up. We actually have a special guest here today, and this is pretty cool. This guy right here to my right, this is somebody I've known since Mrs. Van Natta's kindergarten class.
That's right.
From way back in the day. Bleacher Report contributor for the Seahawks. Also a member of the Military Seahawkers, Brandan Shulze. How's it going today, man?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on your podcast, guys.
Oh,
absolutely.
We've been needing to do this. We
need some intelligent guys on this podcast for once. People are going to start to think we're just stupid.
Yeah, I don't know if I can help there.
Well,
I my best.
I mean, Brandan's official now. Like, he's an actual writer. He's a member of the media, you know? Like, I have a journalism degree, but somehow can't do any of that. he's writing articles for Bleacher Report and stuff.
I just want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
You guys can't see these guys, but they both have the same shirt on. They both have a Seahawks hat on and blue jeans. It's stupid.
We got to coordinate, dude.
Yeah, you look good. We make this look good. Well, sweet. Couple just orders of business here real quick. We just wanted to give you guys the ways to contact us on the show here. One way that you can do that is by just shooting us an email. It's afodpodcast@gmail.com. That's AFOD podcast@gmail.com. You can also like us on Facebook, A Flock of Donkies. Please do that. You can find us on YouTube, obviously. Please subscribe. That really helps us out. We really like that. And you can also find us on iTunes now. Got a couple nice comments on there as well. That seems to be really taking off. So, get on the iTunes, subscribe on there, leave a comment. You can also get a hold of us via phone and leave a message. We'll play it on the podcast too, if it's a good one. That number is 406-823-0307. I don't know if you guys noticed, but 0307, that's Russell Wilson, 03, and John Elway, 07.
Yeah.
I chose that on purpose, folks. So, yeah.
Except you put the wrong quarterback first.
No, I didn't. Because there's going to be one with more Super Bowl rings at the end of his career than the other. I think that's happening.
That's a true statement. There will be one with more.
Yeah.
Well, unless they tie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one has to be more. I didn't declare
Not that they're getting ahead of themselves.
No, just bring it up. So, first off, we're going to just talk a little bit about the beer we're drinking today. Since Brandan's our special guest today, we let him choose the beer. He originally wanted to go with one of the Kona Brewing Company's beer, but I went a couple different places. Apparently, it's all sold out. It must be good.
It's pretty popular.
Yeah, so we decided to go with one of our local beers once again from Bayern Brewery.
Or Bayern, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Just down the street from your house, so
Yeah,
it's not like you should know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I don't need to know how to pronounce it. I just need to know how to drink it. Like, that's the important part. So anyways, the beer we're drinking today is the Dragon's Breath Dark Heff. It's an interesting beer. It's an unfiltered Hefeweizen, brewed in the traditional German style, apparently. Came up with it in 2004. It's 6% alcohol by volume, so, stiff enough. It'll give you a nice whiff.
I know I say this about every beer that we feature here, but I like it. That's why we feature these beers, because I like them.
Yeah, well, and Brandan chose it, so obviously he likes it. But
I'm
going to be the dissenting voice on this. I actually don't enjoy this beer that much.
I'm not much of a Hefeweizen drinker.
I really don't enjoy that.
I don't drink a lot of them, but if I'm going to do it, it's going to be a dark one.
So I don't like the light Heffs either. This is the only way I'll
it's
go.
Dark Heff.
Right. So we all agree on that.
Yeah. So I'm rocking the Natty Ice for this. Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we're doing there. So again, the Bayern Brewery.
There you go.
Dragon's Breath. I'm going to get this right at some point. Bayern Brewery, Dragon's Breath, Dark Heff Ale. Check it out.
You won't be sad. Montana.
You won't be sad. So I think first order of the business, we're going to start with Chicken Scratch today.
Yeah, might as well. We got two of them in the house.
Absolutely. In the house. So, Brandan, you were working on an article for Bleacher Report. What's that about?
Yeah, well, when you guys invited me on, I thought it's been a little while since I've published anything on there, with it being the off season and all, but figured I should probably get started on something since season's coming up fast. I think I saw it was under 100 days now. So.
Yeah, under 100 days.
OTAs are going on. Draft picks are coming through in practices.
Yeah.
Everything's starting to unfold right now.
And I'm going to call you out on air. It's been a freaking while since you've posted something on Bleacher Report.
Hey, I enjoy my off season too.
Yeah, get on his case, man.
Give me a rest, man. So what's this article you're working on here?
Oh, well, I'm taking a look at some of the top intriguing storylines, at least the things that I kind of find intriguing for this upcoming year. And One of the things that caught me off first was when I read about, the Seahawks. They did really well with transitioning J.R. Sweezy from the defensive line to the offensive line. And it was pretty interesting when I saw they're trying to do the same thing with a former USC running back.
Really?
They're trying to move him from running back to linebacker. So
wow.
Yeah.
So as a running back, was he kind of a physical runner? I mean, was he kind of more of that? I mean, I always picture a USC back as being kind of one of those finesse guys.
Reggie Bushy.
Yeah, kind of bushy.
Yeah, no, I think this guy was, he's 7.2 yards a carry, rushed for almost 1,600 yards in his time there at USC. So
wow. Well, yeah. So let's not have him play running back then.
No.
Well, and you got to think that he's going to know everything that's inside the box as far as how to read.
Oh yeah.
What the running back is thinking, so he'd be able to meet him at the point of contact.
Kind of
Being
makes sense.
a USC football player, I'm sure he's an expert on box. I'm sure he had plenty of that. So they're making this transition to linebacker. Is he going to play like middle linebacker or like strong side, weak side? Like what are they?
Maybe that's something that they're going to work out through OTAs. I haven't seen anything yet. I saw that KJ Wright, they're actually moving him over to Leroy Hill's old spot.
Yeah, I had read that. Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious to see who's going to fill, the
strong side linebacker. Well,
Yeah.
they said they were experimenting putting Bruce,
Right.
there at strong side. And again maybe a little bit with Cliff Averill because apparently he played without a hand in the grass, in college and things like that. It'll be interesting to see. So is that kind of an indictment on Malcolm Smith then, not being able to play the weak side? Because I thought he played well last year.
I thought he played well too, and I thought that was going to be, that he was going to be the starting guy, but I guess we're just going to have to see, how it works out.
Yeah.
I like Malcolm. I think he'd be just fine. A lot of people are kind of worried about who is going to take that spot, especially when they didn't draft anybody really high.
Yeah.
With those first few picks at linebacker, but
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
It'll be interesting to see. Now, KJ Wright obviously was a very productive player, on the strong side. He actually played middle linebacker when he first, his rookie year, I'm pretty sure. When Tutupu left. Or was kicked off or whatever, however you want to say it. Like, yeah, they just decided, your knees are gone, see you laters. He's played around. I feel like this is a guy that's smart. He can actually move around, and he'll be just fine.
I think he's going to, and that's why I think they trust him to make that move, and it sounds like he's doing well with it. So, I like the chances that they're taking at linebacker, and I think because they're so strong everywhere else, I think they kind of have some room to kind of play around with those spots.
There is a margin of error there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially with that outside linebacker defensive end position, you see so many guys going back and forth now. You see Von Miller with a hand in the dirt every once in a while. You see these kind of hybrid type of guys coming in. I don't think that you guys are going to have a problem. If you see something, you just kind of have to trust it at this point with what you've done with your personnel.
Oh, absolutely. Like we always say, in the Johns we trust.
Yeah.
Whether it's Elway or Schneider.
Just don't question it.
No, you don't question it. So that's interesting. And, that adds another element of depth to the linebacking core. So, that's a good move. I'm a little worried about the defensive line, personally. With the injuries, to Chris Clemens or the suspension of Bruce Irvin. Or Scruggs going down, with the ACL.
Yeah.
Those are key guys, and I don't know how the Hawks are going to fare over the first few weeks of the season, without all of the pass rushers that we've had in the past on the field. I mean, Chris Clemens is a double figures sack guy. I mean, he's done that for, a few years, and he's our best pass rusher at this point. He's not going to be on the field, I don't think, for at least the first week or two.
I think the first few games are going to be tough, but the good things are we still have Brandon Mebane, who's solid on the defensive line.
That's a good point.
And Red Bryant's coming off of his foot injury, and it sounds like he's a lot better than he was. I mean, he fought that injury all last year.
Yeah, almost the whole.
I mean, he wasn't himself last year.
No,
so.
plantar fascia sucks, and and he was. It almost looked like he was on skates, towards the end of the season because that hurts.
Yeah.
And I had read that he is looking good coming back from the plantar fascia and all that. He says it's not a problem anymore. So that's great, obviously. But I'm high on Jordan Hill. Like I really think that he's going to be awesome. For especially on third downs, in that nickel package, getting after the quarterback and that sort of thing. So I'm big on him. What are your thoughts on Jesse Williams?
Oh, I love Jesse Williams. Back in, I think it was November, they had me, so Bleacher Report, they actually give out assignments sometimes.
Right.
And they said, give us the Seahawks draft first through 7 rounds and who you like for each round. And I actually put Jesse Williams in for the first round pick, and this was back in November, and people were high on Jesse Williams back then. Coincidentally, I think they had Trufant projected at the 3rd round, and
right.
And
flip flop,
flip flop. So I mean, it shows you how much things can move. Just how people kind of project where people are going to go, but. I like Jesse Williams a lot, and maybe it's because I have the Aussie blood in my family.
That's true. You are kind of a convict. Yeah, that's in there. I mean, Jesse Williams got the YOLO tattoo on his neck.
Oh yeah,
something like "Fear is a liar" or something like that.
Yeah, no, he's an interesting dude.
Yeah, he's a character.
I like his story a lot. I know there's some concerns about him, but
the knee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you look at Jesse Williams, how long do you think that he can play on something like that?
It's tough to tell. The one thing I do know is
you're a doctor too, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know all about.
Oh yeah, stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
The question is, how long do you think he's got on this thing?
How should I know? I guess my thought is on Jesse Williams is you're probably going to get the best out of him in his first 3 years.
By the time they rolled around to that he was there in the 5th round, it's one of those guys you have to take a chance on.
That's a good, yeah.
And they had the 2 picks back to back, and I always like the guys that they take in the 5th round. I mean, Cam Chancellor,
True.
Richard Sherman.
Yeah, I love late round guys. We have a history of drafting at least one player in every draft who's coming off some kind of knee injury. Every year, we did it again with this year with Quintara Smith. We did it with Omar Bolden last year.
And the Hawks had so many picks. I mean, you got to take a chance on some of these guys. I mean, they did the same thing with picking Michael in the 2nd round.
Yeah, and that pick's grown on me.
Yeah.
That pick's really grown on me. I heard an interview with him today. I think he was on with Bob and Gerrad in ESPN Seattle. And, everybody talks about his attitude problems and this, that, and the other thing. Dude doesn't have an attitude problem. You listen to him talk, he just wants to be a part of the team. And he just wants to play. I don't know what the deal with the coach that replaced Mike Sherman down at Texas A&M and why they butted heads. I mean, I haven't looked into it much. But he seems like a solid stand-up guy to me.
Well, that's on a college level, too, where the college players run those universities pretty much while they're there.
So,
of course, their egos are inflated to 5 times their size.
Sure. Sure.
Attitude problems in college don't really translate to the NFL, in my opinion. Sometimes they do with a guy who's just completely out of control.
Pac-Man Jones.
But usually, if you have a good coach that can control it, I think you're just fine.
Ah, that's a good point. So, yeah, he's really growing on me. Now, you had a couple other things that you wanted to talk about here today, Brandon.
Yeah,
well, that was just a start to the Bleacher Report article, so we can skip over the rest of that. The other stuff, I'll write about it later.
Yeah, just check it out on Bleacher Report because he's kind of a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that I really wanted to talk about was this Broncos and Seahawks, the matchup that fans voted on NFL.com.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say right now I disagree with it, but it's really accurate. It's, as far as the top 2 teams, they couldn't have nailed it any better.
Absolutely. I think it's pretty close. And, another interesting thing that kind of relates to this is on Mile High Report today on SB Nation, they're I can't remember the guy's name who's writing it. I think his last name is Lynch. He's going through and doing reverse order power rankings. And he had the Seahawks at 7. And, and his big point was, well, you're a Cinderella team. You had one good year. Prove it to me. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
That's a good point, though.
It's a good point, but let's take and put the glasses on the other side there, kind of your objective goggles and kind of look at it the other way. I mean, Broncos were, had a playoff win with Tebow, then bring in Peyton Manning, and then really take off, and they did it for 1 year. So how can
Peyton Manning's a little more proven than Russell.
Coming off a neck injury?
Quite a bit.
But when you didn't know if his noodle arm's going to make it?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I don't think you really have an argument. Because what you're saying is
I have an argument!
Well, what this guy's saying, you have to prove it. Right now, Peyton Manning is proven. He's proven himself numerous times already. So I think he's kind of getting at maybe a potential sophomore slump, which could easily happen. It could happen to your whole team since you have a lot of injuries. As far as what we have right now, the depth of veterans, we're not going to take a step back from where we were last year.
Now, that's true, but I would, as a rebuttal to that is, I'm kind of in the Colin Cowherd thought process on this, where he gets on and talking about Russell Wilson. He's like, why do I have to wait to say that this guy is great? Like, you hear a guy come on American Idol, and he sings like 10 notes, and you're like, star! And, Russell Wilson plays an amazing, actually ties Peyton Manning's rookie record for touchdowns, and we got to wait to say that he's great?
Absolutely. Well, I'm not a big instant gratification, let's call him great either.
I can't go there right now either. And, part
of
it
was...
Well,
I will.
Hey, I'm behind him 100%, but I just, there's that... Well, maybe it isn't 100. Maybe it's 99%, because there's that 1% of me that thinks back to Rick Meyer.
Right.
Had a great rookie season.
Yeah, okay rookie season. Everybody inflates that, I think.
Maybe it was just great compared to, guys like Stan Gelbaugh, Kelly Starr,
Yeah, I mean, the bar might have been a little low.
We thought Rick Meyer was the next big thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, Notre Dame quarterback, rah-rah. Yeah.
So maybe we were a little bit too soon to crown him. And
I think so, too.
But I like Russell Wilson a lot.
Yeah. So, NFL.com, the fans vote. They've got, the two teams playing the Super Bowl, the Broncos and the Seahawks. And the fans voted.
Well done, fans.
Well, yeah, definitely. Well done.
And the fans voted who was the champion.
And they went with the Seahawks.
Yeah,
that's right. So you can't put a whole lot of stock into it because it's just a fan voting. But I will say, I don't know if you remember this from last year, but another site had a fan voting on who had the best defense last year, and the Seahawks came out on top.
Really, I don't know that I agree with that.
And this was last year.
Oh, this was last year.
The Seahawks came out on top before the season. A bunch of people were saying, "Oh no, the Seahawks don't have." I mean, what about Pittsburgh and what about San Francisco? But look what happened. Seahawks, sure enough, see the fans know their team.
Number 1 scoring defense in the NFL last year. But I honestly, I would still take the Niners defense. And I mean, that pains me to say it, but I would. I mean, for this year only. Not looking into the future, because the Niners are starting to get a little long in the tooth, and I think they're going to start to fall off over the next couple of years. But, you looked at Justin Smith with the hurt elbow and all that stuff last year.
I just won't even talk about how much depth the Broncos defense has right now.
We'll get to
we are flat out ridiculous.
You are ridiculous. There's no other way to describe that.
So, it's pretty interesting, though, looking at just how they structured the voting. Because, So wild card round.
Yeah. How many teams did they put in total?
They put in normal playoff teams, 12 teams.
Okay.
So the Texans and the Colts faced off. The Texans had the better record. The Colts just squeaked in with the 6th seed. And then the Bengals and the Ravens. And the Ravens actually, they had the 5 seed, so fans had them not even winning the division next year.
Ravens aren't making the playoffs. They're not. I'm sorry.
I think they will.
Nah.
With their defense, it'll be interesting to see, just how their defense is this coming year. But
I always count them out, and they always prove me wrong, so I'm just not going to do it. They're going to make it to the playoffs.
You lose Ed Reed, you lose Ray Lewis, Dunskies.
Who's going to beat them out of in that division? Who's going to beat them out?
I would say either the Bengals or the Browns. I think the Browns are going to take a step forward.
The Browns, but they won't compete with the Ravens yet. I don't think anybody's good enough to really knock the Ravens off just yet.
So the fans had the Bengals getting the 4 seed and beating the Ravens in the first round. And then the Broncos and Patriots got a bye.
That makes sense.
1 seed for the Broncos.
The 2 fastest offenses in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then on the NFC side, the Packers get the bye with the top, the best
top
record.
Okay, yeah. I can go with that.
And then the Falcons.
Is gonna be questionable this year.
That's true.
Man. 49ers get in with the 3 seed, just like last year.
Who do they have with the 2 seed?
Falcons.
Fuck the Falcons.
They're going to be a 2 seed, though. They're always great in the regular season. You can't deny them the regular season.
And their division is not that great.
It's weak sauce, man.
It doesn't matter how much you hate the Falcons. You can't argue with that number 2 seed.
Whatever. The Saints are going to come out on top in that division this year. Mark my words.
Saints are going to be better. I think Carolina's going to be better. So
it's going to be a way better division. But I think
it's going to be better. With the NFC West being so tough, I don't think... It's going to be tough to get 12 or 13 wins in the NFC West. So,
absolutely.
The 49ers, the fans have them down as the 3 seed. Redskins at number 4. And then the Seahawks and Buccaneers getting in. So,
okay. The Bucs.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
Yeah, I mean...
I'm not sold on the Bucs.
Well, the Muscle Hamster's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's pretty sweet.
But Josh Freeman, the guy just falls off halfway through the season.
He's up and down.
He just falls off.
No, I think there's so many teams in the NFC that are just looking to improve. I mean, the Rams are going to be improved.
Big time.
The Panthers.
Yeah. Cam Newton's going to have a good year, in my opinion. I just think he's ready. He's going to... He didn't play that bad last year. He had a rough start, but his stats were very similar towards his rookie season. And so if he carries that over into this year, I think you could worry about him a little bit. Maybe not so much in the playoffs as we sacked him like 7 times. Von Miller was Superman all over the field.
That's true. That's true. But I don't believe in Ron Rivera as a coach. I just don't. And I don't know. And in Cam Newton too. I wouldn't take him over Russell at this point. I don't think that he's a better player. I really don't.
You know what?
What pisses you off, Brandon?
You know what pissed me off this last week?
Do tell.
The NFL's top 100 list. Okay.
Right? I hate those lists so fucking bad.
And that's by the players, which that blows my mind even more.
But they had Cam Newton at 46, 5 spots ahead of Russell Wilson.
That's a joke.
And this was based off of last season.
And they had a Sherman.
Okay, so as far as player value goes, I know we just talked about how we're not that, two of us here aren't that instant gratification fan where we want to put Russell Wilson to the top 5 as quarterbacks. But as a defensive player who has faced Russell Wilson last year, his player value's got to be in the top 25 because you know exactly what he can do when he gets on the field. He controls an offense like it's nobody's business. How do you not rank him higher than that?
Changes the game. He's a game changer. He's a franchise guy.
Yeah, and I don't have a huge problem with ranking him at 51.
I was comfortable with that.
I was comfortable with that, but then when I saw Cam Newton go higher,
see, I'd be okay with it if Cam Newton was a little bit below him.
So here's my question on that: Russell Wilson at 51, and Roethlisberger was down in the 70s.
No, he was 61.
61.
Ooh.
I don't know that I can put Russell above Roethlisberger at this point.
Based on last year, though. If you base it on last year.
But if you take Roethlisberger behind
in a single season, no,
that's okay.
I wouldn't rank Ben Roethlisberger ahead of
if
Russell
you're starting
Wilson.
A franchise right now.
Well, when you're talking all-time quarterbacks, I mean Roethlisberger's up there. I mean with the rings, I mean you gotta include him with Brady and Manning and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, both Mannings, and I look at Roethlisberger and he plays behind. I fucking hate the Steelers. But he plays behind that leaky offensive line. I mean, that's a disaster.
I don't really care for Roethlisberger too much, but I fucking love watching him play, man.
Dude, he's tough.
Oh, my God. He just runs around. How many times in that first week of last season did he kill us on third down, just run around and just sling a 90-mile-an-hour fastball to somebody? God, Peyton Manning went up to him and was just like, you got to stop that third down crap.
Yeah. I mean, he's captain improvisation.
He is.
Yeah, that was a word.
And how hurt does that dude have to be to miss a game?
Guy is tough as shit. Breaks his nose. He has a cast on his...
He talks about it a lot, though.
Because he's got broken shit all over his body and he's still producing.
Yeah.
That's one guy I don't care how much you hate Ben Roethlisberger, you will never be able to question his toughness. By far, I think one of the toughest quarterbacks in the NFL.
I give him credit for toughness.
Who's tougher than Ben Roethlisberger in the NFL? Yeah. He doesn't whine about it. People ask him about it. He says it, moves on. He doesn't whine.
Okay.
He doesn't whine. Tomlin would not let him whine. Shaft. It just wouldn't happen.
I can dig it. So, yeah, absolutely. But, so that was kind of the first round of everything.
What else we got?
And so, obviously, a few teams moved on.
So, 49ers, Seahawks move on in the NFC. Texans, Bengals move on in the AFC side. So, in the divisional round, the Broncos get the Bengals. So, 1 and a 4 seed. And that Broncos got through, and then they have the Patriots beating the Texans. So 1 and 2 seeds get through there. Pretty standard.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. They have the Seahawks going up against the Packers. So the Fail Mary rematch in the playoffs, which would be cool. I was kind of rooting for that this year, but I'll take it again if it comes. If it happens. Preseason won't count.
No, definitely won't.
But they have the Seahawks getting by the Packers in Green Bay, where we haven't had a lot of success, but
But I really agree with that because I don't think their defense is going to touch you guys this year. I really don't. I don't believe in Green Bay's defense.
No, they traditionally they don't have.
You don't believe in Clayton Matthews? He's raping and pillaging people. Like he's.
But when that's all you got,
yeah.
And BJ Raji, who gets tired halfway through the game. fine.
That's true.
And the defense did not play all that great against the Seahawks. And when Russell Wilson, what was his
That was
third,
his second start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a couple games into the season.
Yeah.
So, that was even before he had a chance to really get going. And the defense didn't show much against the
If
Hawks.
I was going to predict that game, I think you guys would just out physical him from the start of the game. If that was actually to play out this year.
Well, look at that Packers defense against the Niners in the playoffs. I mean, Kaepernick he tore them up.
Yeah.
Like, that was an embarrassment.
Yeah.
And then the 49ers get by the Falcons.
Good. Fuck the Falcons. I hate the Falcons more than the Niners. I do.
I don't. They are a fond Super Bowl memory for me.
I bet they were. Yeah. You love beating Dirty Birds and Yankees. Yeah.
There was the Dirty Bird for 2 weeks straight.
Oh, yeah.
We shot it down and buried it.
Doing like the arm pump thing. Like, I don't even know.
Dirty Bird all over the place.
Yeah.
Dirty Bird just means you shit yourself. Sorry. Sorry. Let's get back to this.
So the Broncos and the Patriots in the AFC Championship. I think that'd be a great game.
That's a game that I want to see big time. I mean, Gronkowski probably won't play.
No. Gronkowski's done. Mark my words. Dude's freaking done. That back thing, that was a big concern coming out of college. He's getting another procedure on it. He's been operated on his arm 4 goddamn times.
I have heard that it's a different back situation, but how many back situations can you have until your whole back's just done?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's Jeremy Shockey to me.
I don't
Uber talented, but always injured.
I don't think the Patriots need him to get to the AFC Championship.
No,
I
agree.
I think
Overall,
they need him
AFC's weak.
to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I don't know if their defense is good enough, but who knows what the Patriots are going to come out with. I don't think they're as deep as we are, but you can't count Belichick and Tom Brady out. You just can't. Who knows what's going to happen to them?
I can't in the playoffs lately. I mean, honestly, the Patriots haven't been the most clutch team in the playoffs over the last few
The
years.
Ravens did kind of soundly beat them, really.
Yeah. And
I never doubted the Ravens were going to win that game, really. I mean, when you think about it and you watch it again.
I don't know. I'm just not big on the Patriots. And I think that's your stiffest competition in the AFC.
Yeah.
And I still don't think that they even hold a candle to the Broncos, to be honest. I really don't.
Yeah, I would maybe... I'd put the Texans up there. I think the Texans
I
could
think
have a
they're
chance.
good.
I like the Texans, but I think their defense, I think they're going to be improved this year.
Really?
And, Arian Foster is always...
Did they lose, Cushing and, in one of their D-backs and,
Yeah, they always put a good defense on the field, though.
Yeah, they're not a poorly structured team. They're not a team that's just going to be dive bombing year in and year out and be good one year, be shitty the next year. I think they're going to... They kind of playing out, but I still think they're kind of climbing this plateau where Schaub's still getting better.
You think he's getting better?
I do. I think he's reading defenses a little bit better.
I think he's
last year
plateaued.
they did okay.
When you got Andre Johnson to throw to, I mean...
And he's an aging Andre Johnson, though.
Yeah, I'd still take him.
Yeah, he can play.
He's not so bad.
It's like saying an aging Larry Fitzgerald, who wouldn't want him on your team?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no.
I'm going to say this.
I'll take an aging Halle Berry. I'll take that.
Okay, really quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Who would you take, Larry Fitzgerald or Calvin Johnson? I pick Fitz. I'm all about Fitz, man. I love Larry Fitzgerald in every way as a player.
And
a dude. He's a good guy.
He's a great guy. And that's not saying I don't like Calvin Johnson, but...
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of Fitz. And he said on Twitter this week, a fan asked him where his favorite place to play on the road was, and he said Seattle.
Oh, good for Fitz.
Because he likes competition. That's
he said I could barely hear hear anything.
I can't even hear himself think. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Okay, so we're all on Team Fitz.
Yeah, we're all on Team Fitz. now, one other thing that came up this week that I found honestly freaking hilarious is Kenny Chesney was out there running routes at Seahawks OTA practices the other day. Apparently, he was a high school receiver.
Cool. Who wasn't?
Yeah, I know.
So was I, but I'm not running routes at Clink.
No, you're also not singing top 20 country songs either.
No.
So, Kenny Chesney, he's out there running routes. I watched a little video on it. Dude's tiny.
He's a little dude.
He's standing next to Russell. I'm pretty sure Russell was 4 inches taller than him. And just
his cowboy hat that he wears is just as tall as he is. Pull a Chesney out of the hat.
That's why Renee Zellweger couldn't stay with him. That he's apparently gay, which is no, that's just a rumor. I don't know.
I don't really pay attention to the top 20 chart rumors.
Well, Kenny Chesney. Apparently, this isn't his first time doing this sort of thing either. apparently he was out at training camp with the Saints a few years back as well.
Is this like Garth Brooks trying to make the fucking San Diego Padres? Is that what's going on here?
It must be. I don't know. I have no idea.
Bury that hope in the ground, dude.
And he was also on Gruden's QB camp like this last year too. He goes out there and like he does like a diagram of like how he walks around on stage on the whiteboard.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Because you gotta love Gruden, and so that's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I think he's probably gonna make a remake of She's Got It All. You know, he's gonna make a He's Got It All remake about Russell Wilson, about how he's got all the throws, his his handoffs, his play fakes, all of it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see.
Hey, Pete made up a jersey for LeBron. I guess if give Kenny Chesney a shot too.
Yeah, you give Kenny Chesney a shot. And then apparently Russell Wilson went to Kenny Chesney's concert later that day, or maybe it was the day before. I don't know.
That's 2.5 hours you'll never get back
ever. And he just when Russell. If you got, I know. Okay, there's some stutters there. So, but point being is, Russell Wilson has the worst taste in suits ever. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but
not big on fashion, so no, I don't know.
No,
well, me neither. But
you're the only one noticing.
God, I'm a
you
chick.
and your fashion, and
I'm a
Kenny
chick.
Chesney, man. I don't know.
Yeah, his purse didn't match his shoes or something. I don't know. That's no good. So yeah, Kenny Chesney working out with the Seahawks. That's some funny shit.
I don't even know a Kenny Chesney country song. I just know it's pop country.
I kind of had to look it up. I'm not gonna lie. All right. And the only
you just
song,
saved a little bit of face right there.
Yeah, a little bit. And I listened to pop country on the bus growing up every single day. Like, so you think I would know a few Kenny Chesney tunes? Not so much. But yeah.
Was he around in the early 90s?
Yeah, I don't know. How
late 90s, and
okay.
then
Yes,
mostly the 2000s apparently. But yeah, so Kenny Chesney. John Schneider's obviously looking for talent anywhere he can get it. He's looking,
not a 5'4" dude who can tote a guitar. Nope.
Yeah. I mean, he's looking at the Billboard charts to see if he can find talent.
The one thing where I would actually question it from, just any kind of
distraction.
Well, is Kenny Chesney going to be that big of a morale booster for the team? Like, who on that team knows Kenny Chesney?
I don't think Cam Chancellor is rocking Kenny Chesney.
Was there when he was running routes? Was there anybody even paying attention to him?
No, it was all for show. It was just.
Or was he underneath their eye level so they potentially run him over?
He's probably trying to sell
What was even
tickets for the
happening
concert.
on the field?
Hey, they did have him in a special lime green tank top. I
Was
think.
Pete
just
Carroll
so
throwing him the rock?
No, Russell was.
Did it knock him over?
Yeah.
Like, what happened here? I'm confused.
Yeah, we're all
as
confused.
to why you would do this.
Yeah, nobody knows. So
Kenny Chesney.
So yeah, so once the Seahawks got Kenny off the field and started doing some other things, apparently they were running some read option in the end zone against the number 1 defense, and apparently had them all bollocksed up, like just totally confused. And so I'm kind of excited about some of the wrinkles that Darrell Bevell's going to go with that read option, because it's like the next step of play action to me. Where you've got 2 running options and then a passing option off of it. And everybody's saying, well, the read option is going to get stopped. Mike Tomlin's talking all about how much he wants to stop the read option, rah. But I really feel like play action would have been stopped 20 years ago if everybody, you know what I mean? Like if everybody focused on it.
So I think you're sorry to interrupt, but I think you're definitely right. So you can stop the read option if that's the only threat. Yeah, and I think we probably discussed this before that's not Russell Wilson's only threat.
No,
it's good luck.
No, his awesomeness is the.
So I have one question for you guys as far as your defense goes. So you say you're running these plays against your number 1 defense, and defense doesn't know what to do. Do you guys think that you have enough depth to get you past week 2 against the 49ers?
I don't know.
I know it's going to be a good game even with some of those starters out, but how do you guys feel about it?
Well, what was the score against the 49ers the last game?
5,000-2.
42-13.
Well, if you're going in terms of knockouts, it was like 3-0 Seattle. I mean,
so I guess I'm not too concerned if we're down a few guys on defense for that game. Guys are going to be pumped up. It's the home opener. It's Sunday night football.
Yeah.
I mean, the crowd is going to be awesome at that game.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's going to be sweet. And honestly, I feel like Kaepernick's going to have a season this year much like Cam Newton had last year, where he struggles a little bit earlier in the season.
I think Kaepernick's more accurate. So I think he's gonna be a little more of a polished passer that can run. I think he's gonna be just as much of a threat this year as he was last year.
Who's he throwing to?
Yeah,
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm looking at.
You know, you got a
Vernon Davis still. I mean, Vernon Davis usually
he's a monster. Yeah, I mean,
and he plays well against the Seahawks, although he got lit up by.
Just tell Cam to knock him out again.
He didn't play for most of the game last time because he got knocked clean fucking off the field. It was awesome. Yeah, with a little bam bam action there. So now I know you had a couple other little quick points that you wanted to go over here, Brandon.
Well, while we're on receivers, let's talk about the NFL.com article by Jason Smith. He took a look at the receiving cores in the league, and he actually picked out the Seahawks and the Broncos
Interesting.
for the 2 top receiving core in the league.
Nice.
Who did he have number 1?
No, those were the
or did he just have like one? Like these are the top 2?
Yeah, he picked.
It's gonna be tough to say.
He picked 3, and he didn't really pick them in any particular order.
Who's the third?
The Green Bay Packers.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would go Falcons probably over the Packers.
Yes, definitely.
Roddy White's good too.
Yeah.
Man.
Julio.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. And Harry Douglas is pretty good. He's got an awesome name.
Tony Gonzalez is coming back for another year.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, he tore us up. But yeah, I mean,
your guys' receiving core is pretty good. You know, while we're on the Seahawks, we can just dabble in this for a little bit. Percy Harvin. He adds so much to what you guys are doing. Golden Tate's good. Sidney Rice is just a monster. He gained muscle mass from the time he went from Minnesota to Seattle. He's bigger. I saw him take a couple hits last year. You guys' receivers are looking pretty good.
Healthy all season. Heard an interview with him today. He said he was feeling awesome. You ought to at this time of year. But I see Sidney, having another great year.
Yeah.
And
don't count out Doug Baldwin either.
Doug Baldwin's good too.
Oh no, your man Golden Tate.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so you like Golden Tate for a very specific reason.
Oh, I'm a huge Golden Tate fan.
I mean, he took some time. I mean, being a member of the Military Seahawkers, I mean, you guys get down on the sidelines and stuff during pregame. And things like that. And he came by.
Yeah, we normally do reenlistments in the back of the end zone before kickoff there at Seahawks Stadium there, and so he came down. There's he was actually he had his Golden Tate jersey after he re-enlisted, and he's standing on there, down there on the sidelines, and Tate comes over, signs the jersey, and shakes hands with the guys. So all those, there's a lot of Seahawks that are really great with the military folks, and it's really cool.
As they should be. I mean, you guys have paid your dues. It's good that they kind of pay homage to what you guys do, and that this organization is actually out there.
Yeah, no, the organization's been great as far as letting military folks in. They have Military Appreciation Day once a year, and they give the American flag to a member of the military to run out of the tunnel and lead the Seahawks onto the field. So, it's really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. Tell me a little more about the Military Seahawkers. It's a really cool organization. You were kind enough when we got out to our first game last year to kind of help hook us up with you guys and get us down on the sidelines before the game. What an amazing experience.
Oh, it was
awesome. Unbelievable. Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
No, there's nothing like being down on the field before the game. And, if you can be down there when the fans, start filling up the stadium and cheering and the noise right before kickoff.
You can't hear anything.
Oh, it's amazing.
I was screaming. I couldn't even hear myself. I thought I lost my voice. I didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Military Seahawkers, and actually we're entering our 10th year. 10th year being around.
Wow.
Yeah. And
awesome.
I joined the club probably back in 2006 when I was still in the Navy. Found out about it, and it started out as a club for when troops deploy overseas. Going back, it actually started out as a club just to field a group of 4 or 5 people to do the color guard before the game.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how it started.
Nice.
They needed a consistent group of people to do the color guard. And started out with a small group of folks, 10, 15, and from there it grew, and we're up to over 1,000 members now. So when they started building it, it was for the troops that are deploying overseas, so they could keep in touch with the Seahawks. It was right around the time when the Seahawks were going to the Super Bowl, so it was, They wanted to hear what was going on with the Seahawks back home.
Sure.
And
cool.
really, back in those days, there wasn't a whole lot of access to the internet. So if you could get on email for a little bit and read about how the team was doing, that's how it started. Just a few emails a year, just checking in. And then when I got out of the Navy, and the president of the club, she deployed overseas.
Tracy, right?
Tracy Williams, yeah. She's the one that coordinates all the reenlistments on the field.
She's awesome.
Coordinates the color guard. Yeah, she's an awesome lady.
And that's kind of how you got your start writing.
That's how I got my start right.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, when you were in the Navy.
I wrote I just gotten out, and so and she deployed, and so I said, well, while you're gone, I'm gonna recap every game that the Seahawks do. So you, as well as the other folks that were already on the list, could get that recap of what was happening, because back then we had American Forces Television, American Forces Network overseas. And so every once in a while you'd get a Seahawks game, but very rarely.
Not very often. You get Cowboys, Steelers, bullshit.
Yeah. Saints lately.
So I got a quick question for you. You said you had over 1,000 members at this point, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody kind of wanted to get in touch with this organization, how would they go about doing that?
We have a website, militaryseahawkers.com.
Okay.
They can go there and sign up to become a member. It's free for all active duty members to join, veterans, reservists, retirees. We welcome all those folks. And cool. I send out a monthly newsletter in the off season, and then, like I said, I recap the games. Another thing I do now that American Forces Network shows the games, and also Direct to Sailor Television, they show the games on TV more, with the Seahawks being a little bit better.
Yeah.
And,
a lot of it better.
Yeah. So the games are on TV more. So I'll watch the schedule, and when I know there's going to be a game on TV, I'll shoot out an email and let folks know.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. I've had people stationed over in Afghanistan say, "Hey, I got your email, and I stayed up until 1:30 to watch or I woke up at 1:30 to watch the game, and I stayed up all night."
That's awesome.
So getting a couple hours of sleep just to catch the Seahawks, kind of feels not so far away from home then.
Yeah, and with the Military Seahawkers, that's allowed you to go to a lot of games, which is pretty cool. And speaking of going to games, I'm pretty sure, we haven't announced this yet. August 19th, it is Broncos and Seahawks preseason game.
We will be at the Clink for that game.
It'll be the three of us and our friend Phil. Brandon, you haven't met Phil yet.
Yep.
Great guy, big-time Broncos fan. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I just have to even out the car a little bit.
Hey,
yeah,
I got it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
No, I'm bringing my own carload, so
yeah. So it's gonna be awesome.
Once again, tell us if somebody wants to be a part of the Military Seahawkers, how do they get there?
Yeah, they can go to militaryseahawkers.com, or they can drop me an email at military.seahawkers@gmail.com, and be happy to have them join.
Cool.
That'd be awesome. Well, I think that's enough hot talk at this point.
Unless you guys had anything else you wanted to discuss.
I think that's enough for us to get through. What we're gonna do here, we're gonna drink a little more Dragon's Breath. I'm gonna drink more Natty Ice because I'm the natural. But
you also have to level out the class in this.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not drinking, you're not having enough fun. We'll be right back, folks. Be back with you here in just a sec. Welcome back, everybody. It's time for the donkey spit portion of this. It's time for some Broncos talk. I'm ready for this, Gerrad.
The better half of this program.
Yeah, but one of the things I want to start with a game. God, I can't believe I just let that gloss over.
I know.
God, that's retarded.
You're
All right.
You're losing it, man.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to start out with was kind of going back to Brandon's point about the Jason Smith article with the Broncos and Seahawks receiving corps. And we talked a lot about the Seahawks receiving corps, but we didn't really get much into the Broncos receiving corps.
I was waiting patiently. Very patiently.
I'm impressed, Jerry. When we get, because we're gonna get Phil in here, the fella who's coming with us over for the game. He's gonna be a Broncos fan. We'll definitely get more into Broncos talk at that point. But so the Broncos wide receiving corps, impressive. I mean,
it is impressive. Demaryius Thomas he's a clear number one. He's got all the physical tools. He's just a freak. What people don't really realize is that Eric Decker is the same height, really close to the same weight. People don't realize
Eric Decker's the same height.
He's 6'3".
He's 6'3".
He just looks shorter because he's white. he does. But he's good. He's a red zone receiver.
And slower.
Got good hands, most likely.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a couple of big targets. Obviously, the addition of Wes Welker helps as just a possession guy. But we got a lot of tight ends too. Yeah, he's not bad.
Yeah.
I've heard of Welker.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
So our receiving corps is sitting pretty well right now.
I have a question. Where would you rank Demaryius Thomas among the receivers? We talked about Fitz and Calvin Johnson earlier. Where would you put DT in there?
Let's see.
Is he top 5 yet?
So we got Calvin Johnson, Fitz. I don't know that.
Andre Johnson.
I don't put Andre Johnson above him at this point in his career.
He's
never on the field. He's never on the field.
When he was in his prime, I'd put him in a top 3.
Clearly, you make it sound like he's an old man.
He is an old man. I absolutely. I mean, dude's always hurt. He's always hurt. I would definitely put Demaryius Thomas over Andre Johnson.
I don't know if I would put him in a top 5 yet because he'll be in his 4th season now. Him and Eric Decker came in at the same time.
Who are the 5 guys you put ahead of him?
Well, here's the thing is, we could sit here and search for the 5 guys that we put in front of him. He's only had 1 year with a legitimate quarterback. He had Tim Tebow and Kyle Orton before that. I liked Kyle Orton, but he had Tim Tebow after that. He had the Achilles injury. I think this year he's finally full stride. So after this season, if he stays healthy the whole year, I think he'll easily be a top 5 receiver.
Dude's built like a brick shithouse.
And he's got a huge vertical. He's fast. He can stretch the field. So I think after this year, this is a prove-it year for me. You had 1 good season. You have another good season with a great quarterback who has a lot of weapons. If you can stand out among this group, you will clearly be a top 5.
Well, really be this. I mean, we talked about Fitz earlier and how we all agree. Like, we all think Fitz is amazing. You ding him for last year after playing with the worst quarterbacking crew in the history of the NFL?
Well, no, I don't. And I think his talent is a top 5. But as far as his production, we'll see what he does with it. If he can stand out among this receiving core with the tight ends and everything else we have going on, he's a clear top 5 to me.
I think he is.
I think he's a great number 1. I would, I wouldn't pick him over a Fitzgerald clearly because the guy's just a freak. But if I was starting my franchise right now since he's younger, I'd definitely go with him. But Demaryius Thomas, I'm super happy about him, absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
But as far as production and everything else goes, I don't think he's a top 5. In my mind, he's the number 1 receiver in the NFL.
I bet he is.
And Eric Decker's number 3 behind Wes Welker.
Oh, so you so that's interesting.
Gerrad says fantasy draft this year 1, 2, 3.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's the fantasy draft right there.
Peyton Manning will throw for 6,000 yards.
We will have 3 2,000-yard receivers.
Yeah, no, that's happening.
But we could potentially have 3 1,000-yard receivers.
Potentially. But I think John Fox definitely looks at the game through a running mentality. Like, I mean, he is definitely a run-first guy. I mean, obviously, with Peyton, you do Peyton things. Yeah. Like, you let Peyton, kind of dictate that. But I do think John Fox has influence there. And
he does.
I don't know that you're going to throw it enough to have 3 1,000-yard receivers.
John Fox's influence on the offense is going to be a little bit less this year since we have Adam Gase as our offensive coordinator. He's pedaled to the metal. We're trying to get out more plays than the Patriots this year.
So you kind of feel like Adam Gase plus Peyton Manning is 2-on-1 against John Fox?
Well, I don't think it's even a 2 against 1 at this point. I think John Fox has enough confidence in Adam Gase to just give him the reins as the offensive coordinator and say, Peyton Manning, Adam Gase, you guys do whatever you want to do.
Interesting.
I don't think John Fox's influence on the run game is going to have anything to do with what we're doing offensively this season. I think we're going to use some of his run schemes because he's proven that they work.
Sure.
But as far as what we call as far as offensive plays between pass and run, John Fox isn't going to have much to do with that this season. No. Adam Gase wants to get as many plays off as possible this year. And we were number 2 in the NFL last year behind the Patriots. We want to be number 1. Now that we have chemistry built up, that's our main goal.
Well, hopefully Adam Gase takes the kneel down out of the playbook because that really kills you at the end of that.
It really wasn't that play. He just wanted everyone to collect themselves. Shit was hitting the fan at that time. A bunch of crazy crap had happened. Nobody's heads were in the game. That's why he did it.
You think so? Because I look at that, what was there, 30-odd some seconds left, right?
Well, he's not really looking at how much time was left and how in the distance to go. He was looking at the events that had led up to that situation. The players were in shambles. They didn't know what was going on. So many different things had happened. He's like, let's just take a knee. We can win this game in overtime. Let's do it. It's not like, well, what if the ball gets intercepted? It wasn't any of that kind of shit. It was just like, let's collect ourselves and beat these guys in overtime.
And that's what it was. I suppose that's how you play that when you're at home. I mean, you play for the tie at home. You play for the win on the road.
I didn't have a huge problem with it at the time. But
I did.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the thought that you want to give Peyton Manning a chance.
Yeah. It's Peyton Manning!
Yeah, I mean, what was that game that Tebow won? I mean, he dumped it off to the tight end and ran for the score. So, for the...
Well, I mean, the Falcons had, 30-odd some seconds to march down the field and kick a field goal?
Yeah.
I mean,
we've seen it happen. And
well, yeah, in different
in
circumstances.
hindsight, I mean, definitely give Peyton Manning the chance. But at the time, I didn't have as huge of a problem with it.
I was freaking out.
Nobody in the organization even disagreed with the call. Still to this day, nobody disagrees.
Oh, I thought the Broncos were going to go in and win it in overtime.
That's what I thought. That's what everybody thought.
Yeah.
But none of the players, nobody in the organization disagreed with what was going on just because of the events that had led up to how they had got there within the last couple minutes. So the thing that we don't understand what was going on in that situation
was drive
where
before?
the players' heads at on the sidelines when they had to go back out there and be like, what the hell just happened?
Interesting.
Take a knee, beat their asses in overtime. And you can do that if you have confidence in your team like John Fox does.
Sure. And, I heard John Fox say that he didn't really regret taking the knee. What he regretted more was a drive
running
previous
on
third and seven.
Yeah.
Running
Yep.
the ball.
And clearly that's one of those things you'd like to have back. But, right, like you said, hindsight's awesome.
But I looked at that, and that looked like a Peyton Manning check at that point. Like, he changed it. He liked what he saw.
Or it was called in the very beginning. He just went with it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
That's kind of what it sounds like to me. Everybody agreed with that play and the one to force it into overtime. So as far as where their heads were at, I don't know. None of us really know. But I don't really disagree with going into overtime at that point. I would have liked us to go for it just because the fan in you wants to you just want to win at the end of the game. You don't want to go to overtime with this shit.
No.
Especially with an experienced playoff team. You just don't
want
to face them.
You play to win the game.
That's exactly what you do. So, yeah, that's that game. We move on.
Yeah, moving on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
now, you want to talk a little bit about the Quentin Jammer situation.
So, Adam, you had made a little comment on our Flock of Donkies area on Facebook about what this means for Raheem Moore, what the Quentin Jammer signing means for Raheem Moore, because it's been well documented that we're going to play Quentin Jammer a lot at safety.
Which I find interesting. And how old is Quentin Jammer even? Like, is he in his 30s at this point?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's in his, 11th season or something.
He's been around.
Yeah.
He has been around. Wait, is there a guy that's been better named to be a corner, by the way?
No.
Jammer?
No, he's it. But, just facing him for over a decade, I know what he can do, and I know who he can cover, but he's the heaviest defensive back. He's the heaviest listed corner at this point. And so he's a physical guy, and we're going to move him back to safety. And so Raheem Moore's job is completely safe. We've stated over and over and over a million times that he's our starter, without a doubt. This means two things to me. What it means is Quentin Carter.
Two things.
I love this guy. So Quentin Carter, he had microfracture surgery. This means maybe it's not coming along as well as they wanted to.
He's kind of on the Greg Oden path.
Yeah, maybe it's just not coming along like they had hoped.
Oh, no.
And B, Quentin Jammer's a better option than Mike Adams.
You think he is?
I don't know.
Even if he hasn't played that position.
Cornerbacks have a pretty easy time transitioning from corner to safety.
Charles Woodson.
Yeah,
Rod Woodson. All the Woodsons.
All the Woodsons. If your last name is Woodson, you can play corner and safety.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a little worried about Quentin Carter's injury not coming. I liked him his rookie season.
You were high on him.
I wanted a couple of rookies playing in my secondary as safety, and I wanted them to just kind of grow with the Denver Broncos together. I wanted these two career guys at safety.
Well, you love safeties.
I do. I'm a huge Steve Atwater fan. He's my favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
So Quentin Jammer, that's what he means to me, is that maybe Quentin Carter's injury's not coming along like they'd hoped.
You have two Quintins as safeties?
I know, and a Quintaris. Name that Q!
All these Q names! How does that even happen?
I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on our safety position? If we go with this guy... Okay, so with our corners, we're going with Champ Bailey. It's sounding like Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie on the other side. And Chris Harris. Since our nickel package is basically our base package, we're going with Champ, Cromartie, and Chris Harris as our nickel corner.
As your nickel corner?
Yeah.
Because he's freaking awesome. I don't know that I...
But he's also said he can play on the outside, but he's a better slot corner.
He is?
Yeah, big time.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I've always thought of him as an outside guy.
We moved him around all over the place last season. Okay. And so, yeah.
So you're looking at that. You got your corners obviously soft. I mean, right there. For me, I would put Chris Harris on the outside and move Champ into the slot.
Champ's a better outside cover guy.
Well, just because he has a sideline to use?
champ on the outside.
You got to have champ on the outside. There's just no question. He's still an elite corner. Everybody on the team's still saying that. He hasn't lost a step yet. Well, people could say that coming last playoff game. You could say that he's lost a step because he did get burned a couple times.
Just a couple plays. And
we're keeping champ on the outside.
You look at that. We talked about the NFL players list a little earlier. Champ was on there. I can't remember what number, but I think he was 52. I think he was right behind Russell.
I'd put him in the top 5 in corners for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with his knowledge of the game.
Oh, his knowledge of the game, his quicks, everything about him. I think Champ Bailey's an all-timer. He's
he's doing it well at his age too.
Best corner of his generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't even think that's a debate.
Yeah, I don't know who you.
Does he go on the Broncos Mount Rushmore?
Yes, he does.
Really?
Bronco Rushmore? You bet.
You put him on the Bronco Rushmore?
Absolutely, dude. He's one of the best defensive players we have ever had, and that's saying a lot.
That is saying a lot.
We got guys in the ring of fame all over the place from defense.
Sure.
I'd absolutely put him on there just because of his Pro Bowls, his All-Pro team, everything you want to go with the champ. And he eliminated one half of the field for like 7 years.
At least.
They wouldn't even try it.
No.
So we're solid at corner. So Quentin Jammer has no business at corner at all.
No, absolutely not.
We just drafted a guy. We have Omar Bolden still coming up.
Yeah.
So
how's his injury looking from last year?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So that actually leads right into the next thing I was going to talk about. I want to talk about 3 players that everybody should really look for come training camp, just to see their progress, to see where they're at afterwards on the depth chart, or if they're on the team at all. And
gotcha.
The number 3 guy would be Omar Bolden, because we did bring in Quentin Jammer. We did a lot of work in the secondary and free agency. So also, this is another thing. What does that mean? Does that mean Omar Bolden really didn't progress out of his knee injury, but he looked pretty good last year?
Yeah.
So is that just adding depth?
Well,
I don't really know what that means, so I really am curious to see how Omar Bolden does and where he ranks among the corners after training camp is over.
Yeah, just to see where his
just to see where he's at. And he said after last season, he goes, "I'm not going to compete for a position on this team. I'm going to compete to start." And so he's got the right attitude. He had all the tools in college. I'm really curious to see where he ends up after training camp. So I think we should really pay attention to what he's got going on.
Right.
And how he pushes some of these veteran guys that we have and some of the guys that we brought in.
Gotcha. So who's your number 2 on this list?
Quincy McDuffie.
What?
Have you guys ever heard of him?
Q-Man? No, I have not heard of Quincy McDuffie.
Okay.
I have no idea who this McDuffie is.
This guy,
the Duff Man.
The Duffster.
The Duff?
Yeah.
So he was a college free agent out of Central Florida. He's 5'10", 178 pounds. He's a small guy. We brought him in as a Trenton Holiday kind of guy. Killer return guy. He averaged 34.2 yards per return in college.
Is he a receiver?
Yeah.
Okay.
But mainly a return guy. So he ranked number 1 in the entire nation among average return yards. And he had his best 40 was a 4.35, but he's super quick. He's low to the ground, lightweight, super quick.
Yeah.
We signed him as a college free agent so that he could compete for the return job.
So this year you signed him?
Yeah, he was an undrafted college free agent this year. I think we should really look to see what the hell happens with this guy, because they say he's just as electric as Trenton Holiday. So we'll see what happens with him. But he's another guy I want to look for to see if he's on the roster. He will be used.
I was just gonna ask. This is one of those guys you're like, if on the roster.
If he's on the roster, he's gonna be used in the return game big time.
Or maybe he just ends up practice squad.
Trenton Holiday's got the case of the fumbles. I think that's why we wanted to look at him.
Oh, he does have a little of the fumble skis.
Well, when you're 5'5", your hands are like 3 inches long.
Yeah, like a carny. Like
and
tiny
this
hands.
year in our OTAs.
No offense to carnies.
No, all the offense to carnies. I've met carnies.
Yeah, they want to marry you.
They do. Gay carnies want to marry me. It's happened in Sprague, Washington. That happened.
But another reason why I think he could be a factor is, just from what I've said, you wouldn't think that you would really look too much into him. But in the first day of OTAs, Trenton Holiday fumbled his first 2 punt returns.
He
just
did?
Muffed them, yeah. And so if he's still on the roster, that means he's going to get some big time looks at a return man.
Gotcha.
So,
okay,
yeah,
so that's your
my
number 2
guy. So
hey.
the number 3 guy is Omar Bolden. The number 2 guy is Quincy McDuffie. The third one, we're gonna play a little fill in the blank with you guys. So
I like this. Okay.
I'm gonna do a Peyton Manning quote, and I want you to fill in the position. Okay. If you can't complete a pass to blank as a quarterback, something is wrong with you.
This isn't somebody we've discussed already.
No.
Wait, this is the position or this is the player?
This is the player. I want you to name the player that
I
he's
bet it's a
about.
Q name.
Odds are. If you can't complete a class,
whatever that means.
Yeah. If you can't complete a pass to this guy, that's a tough phrase.
It's got to be Wes Welker.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
He's in his third season with the Denver Broncos this year.
Third season. I was going to go Ronnie Hillman was my next guess.
No. Okay, so...
Well, Peyton Manning has never completed a pass to Wes Welker, so I guess that makes sense.
That's true. This guy's caught one pass in his career. He's a fellow Northwestern out of Portland State. We drafted this guy in the 4th round 2 years ago.
Is this Ramses Barton guy?
No.
He was out of Portland State.
Yeah.
It's got to be a tight end, huh?
It is a tight end. So he's only played football 1 year in college. We drafted him in the 4th round. Julius Thomas. He's 6'5", 255 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
He played power forward in college at Portland State for 4 years. He had 1 year of scholarship eligibility left. So he went to the football coach. He's like, hey, man, I think I can help you out. Did awesome. Completely awesome. Enough to garner him a 4th round pick by the Denver Broncos. So we've been high on this guy. His 3rd season now. We've kept him around for a reason.
How I didn't guess this, I don't know. I mean,
third string tight end. Get up on your Bronco knowledge.
I just wanted to make you guys think because this is the player that I think is going to be the breakthrough player on the Denver Broncos in 2013-2014 season.
Thomas?
He's spreading guys down the seam. Guys can't keep up with him.
He's spreading guys down the seam.
All sorts of penetration into the backfield.
Penetration.
I hate when I get spread down the seam.
You never want to get spread down the seam.
Come on, guys, take me seriously.
It's painful.
I wouldn't know what it's like.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I mean, I've heard. It's painful to get
Peyton Manning's been talking about him these entire OTAs. Joel Dreesen's out until the end of July. He had orthoscopic surgery on his knee to kind of clean some shit up. And so he's been getting all sorts of looks.
So you've got Tammy, you've got Dreesen, and then Thomas.
And then Virgil Green, who is a guy that we drafted along with Julius Thomas.
Who do you predict out of Virgil Green, Thomas? Who do you think's going to have that 3rd spot?
That depends on basically his health status. He's injured his right ankle a couple of times, and that's what has kind of kept him off the field in the last couple of seasons.
He's a basketball player. Probably
he's a basketball, just rolling shit all over the place. So that's going to play a factor. If he's healthy, I think we keep 4 tight ends for a little while. And kind of switch our practice squad around to kind of see how it works out. But if I had to pick, I would put Julius Thomas up there. Guys are saying he's just ridiculous to cover. Peyton Manning says if you can't hit him, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
He's making one-handed grabs out there. He's the freak that we drafted him to be. He's that former basketball player that we brought him in the 4th round to see if we could develop him. He's finally developing because he's not prone to injury this year, apparently, which is a freaking miracle.
Hey, sometimes guys just finally turn the health corner.
You know, it seems like guys really turn that corner the 3rd year. You know, you see
Once
receivers.
they've adapted a little more. Yeah. And I hope that's the case because he is that guy, that Jimmy Graham that you're kind of looking for.
Sure. You know? Who played basketball. Yeah. Antonio Gates, who played basketball.
That's who they're comparing him to. All of these former basketball athletes. Yeah. And so that's kind of what we were hoping that he was be. But I think this year, this is his year, and that's the guy that I really wanted to highlight, Julius Thomas, because I think he's going to be the breakout player for the Broncos this year.
Interesting. I didn't know anything about Julius Thomas. Yeah. I feel like
I've had him for a couple of years, because when we first drafted him, I was like, who the hell is this guy, and why hasn't he played football more than 1 year?
Where did you guys draft him? Like 5th round, 6th round, 4th round?
4th round, yeah.
Wow.
Portland State.
So. Portland State. Fucking Big Sky Conference.
We'll see how
Fuck you, Portland State.
So he's the guy. And Peyton Manning, he loves his tight ends anyways. So if we have one big guy that can really stretch the field, along with receivers and an underneath possession guy, that just makes it that more dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, Dreesen can stretch the field, but he's not Julius Thomas fast. And he doesn't have that height nor the vertical leap.
Now, does he have the hands of a Tammy?
I don't know.
Because his drop rate was ridiculously low last year.
Yeah, Julius Thomas doesn't have a drop rate because he's only caught 1 pass in the NFL. But he caught it.
He caught it, yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So do I need to watch out for this guy in my fantasy draft or
you
what?
Bet yeah, put him 4th behind our receivers.
Yeah. That's good fantasy update there.
Yeah.
Now, Brandon, you know, looking over the Broncos, you actually came across an article that you wanted to talk about a little bit, and it had to do with Broncos offensive line coaching.
Yeah, so former Seahawks offensive line coach Alex Gibbs, you might remember.
I remember that Alex Gibbs.
Yeah. I do. I'll take any Gibbs on my team.
So back with the Broncos.
That's
I
right.
want to hear what your thoughts are. We were talking a little bit about the running game maybe not being as quite as big as not quite the focus. But you bring in a guy like Alex Gibbs, and kind of. Especially pulling him out of retirement, it kind of makes you think about the focus on the run game a little bit.
It kind of does, but who wouldn't want to be a part of this team? If you can come out of retirement, you want to come out and be a part of this team. But you're absolutely right as far as your run game, kind of. Whatever.
He's a He's a great teacher of offensive line skills for the run game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
he brought in the zone blocking thing, which really did well for the Broncos back in the day.
For like a decade.
Yeah. Shanny.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Plug in a back.
Yeah. Anyone. Name that back.
And the Seahawks really did just borrow him for a little bit, but back home with the Broncos.
We did have him in Seatown.
But I don't really think that this changes our emphasis on the run. I think we're just looking to fine tune it so that when we do run the ball, we're 100% rather than maybe some guys really not knowing what they're going to do.
Well, you look at Alex Gibbs, and he's got to be one of the top offensive line coaches in the league. I mean, you look at Tom Cable, Alex Gibbs. I don't know who else you put up there. I don't know that I could name another one, to be honest.
Let's start with that. Who knows who they are?
Yeah.
But, I really like this. I like Adam Gase going to our offensive coordinator. I like what we're doing as far as our personnel management goes, as far as the coaches go.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything. If we can get Jack Del Rio as our defensive coordinator, Alex Gibbs as our offensive line coach, I mean, we're stacked in every way you can imagine.
Yeah.
It's just another
like
one of those
Pamela
things.
Anderson, stacked in every direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're keeping Jacob Hester around also to be a part of our run game. So there was this guy, do you guys remember for the Jets? Richie Anderson, I think his name was. He was kind of a utility guy. He was in special teams. He was a fullback, all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
So
I vaguely remember this guy.
Yeah, that's what we're going to have Jacob Hester do. He's going to be a special teams guy. He's going to be a fullback. He's going to be a short down guy. And we brought in Alex Gibbs, and that's one of the things that he had mentioned is how he's going to use Jacob Hester in a lot of these situations.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Since we got rid of all the Gronkowskis.
Yeah.
So another thing I wanted to talk about in terms of the Broncos, how... I think this is kind of the first season where the Seahawks have been kind of up there among the favorites, but
sure.
And the Broncos kind of had that kind of favorite, with Peyton Manning coming on last year.
Yeah.
But they're really pegged as one of the favorites this year. So
absolutely.
How do you see the team dealing with that this year?
I think they're going to deal with it just fine, just because of who the leader they have at quarterback with Peyton Manning, and also on defense they have Champ Bailey.
Yeah,
these guys have dealt with this stuff already. Champ hasn't really gotten to a Super Bowl. He's never really dealt with being on a high-profile team like this, but he's been around for so long. I don't think there's much he hasn't seen as far as how to lead a team past those expectations.
And I'll say this. I worry much less about Peyton Manning handling large expectations than I worry about Russell Wilson and the Seahawks
on an experience level.
Yeah, because of experience. I mean, Russell's always flown under the radar. Peyton Manning is always flowing like smack dab in the middle of the fucking radar. You know what I mean?
Peyton Manning kind of does have that rap of can't win the big game.
He does.
But he did. He won
once.
He did. Once is more than zero. And I think that's a big deal.
I think every fan worries about the expectations because it's so much easier to be the underdog. So much easier. But now if you're basically the favorite going into the season, every team's got you pegged. Every team has got you in their sights when they're going to play you. They know exactly how they're going to try to play you, and they know when they play you. So it's not a lot of fun being the non-underdog team, but I think if there's any sort of team that can handle this kind of stuff, it would be this year's Denver Broncos.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think you've got, between Peyton being the leader that he is, John Elway as your executive, that guy's dealt with some high expectations, I mean,
and he managed them well with 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, did all right. I mean, if you just, even when he was young, he managed it well. I mean, you look back at the '83 draft, and and he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. and he totally handled that, as well as a young man can. Yeah. And so, that kind of leadership, I think it puts you guys in really good position.
It does, and it's actually a really good question that you asked. I think the fans worry about it more than the team is.
Yeah,
that's one of those things.
I think it's one thing that and the Seahawks are kind of in that position this year too.
Absolutely.
I think about it, and somebody asked me, well, what's it like, Seahawks being considered one of the favorites, and at first it kind of worried me a little bit because they've never been in that position.
Sure,
ever.
Yeah, right. I can't. Well,
they were the Super Bowl year.
Yeah, but this year they're going into just this last week, ESPN brought out their rankings, and Seahawks were, ranked number 1, out of all the teams, and so and I think that at first it kind of worried me a little bit, and
with a young team,
you don't know how they're going to handle it, but Pete Carroll had an interesting take. He had a town hall meeting this last week, and he said that he's telling the team to embrace it, to really embrace being that number, that they're that good and that respected. Yeah. That they're actually deserving of this recognition and to embrace it and focus on it.
And that's a good way to go, because as a player you never know if you're gonna go through this type of situation again. So you might as well embrace it, just let it roll, enjoy it, and see where it takes you.
Sure. I mean, and just quickly on the Pete Carroll thing and handling expectations, at USC. I mean, there were high expectations
every single year. Yeah.
So if there's a coach that understands how to handle that, I think it's Pete Carroll. But but I think John Fox is very much in that same mold. I mean,
he's calm and collected too.
Oh, and funny and down to earth. Like I love John Fox. I really do. I mean, there were big expectations on the Panthers. A few years when he was coaching there.
And then Jack Del Rio on defense. If you're going to let these expectations get to you, you're not even going to play on the field.
No.
He wants hard-nosed guys that are just going to do their job. So the way the team is kind of what it sounds like to me, just from interviews and reading articles, the way they're going about this is just do your job every single day. Don't worry about the expectations. Just do if you have a play at hand, do your job on that play. Take it one play at a time. I know that sounds really cliche, but we have the veterans and the leadership to kind of gear a team towards doing that.
It's cliche for a reason.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's an important deal. So
that's how it goes.
Yeah. Now, was there anything else that you had on Broncos?
Yeah. Here? Okay. I want to give a shout out to our new Southwest area scout. His name is John Spytek. What a perfect fucking name for this job. John Spytek, welcome to the Denver Broncos.
He's like the 007 of scouts.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
Does he have like a blowgun, like an umbrella that shoots out like poison darts?
Wait a second. Is this a real thing?
Absolutely. His name is spelled Spytek. John Spytek.
Okay, that guy. If he didn't invent some sort of spy.
I think I remember back when I read Archie's that and they had the spy section with the see-through glasses so you could see through clothing.
Yeah, you're old.
I think those were Spytek.
He could see through helmets looking into guys' brains. That was Spytek.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just other than that, we had some big time free agency signings. The draft is obviously kind of awesome to watch and follow, but ever since we settled into this whole free agency thing and now that we're going through OTAs, there's really not a lot happening. Guys are getting comfortable. We've had a lot of these guys on the team now for 2 years. The chemistry is building. There's not a lot happening right now. So
you say there's not a lot happening, and you're shouting out to a guy named Spytek? Wow.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah, he's belly crawling in with a ghillie suit on to spy on teams to see who's good and who's not.
Yeah. Now, so we're just gonna kind of let it play out. See what happens through.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw something like Monty Ball saying that the rookie jitters are gone.
Once he was star-crossed over Peyton Manning, I think he's kind of.
I'd be star-crossed over that forehead.
Yeah,
I would.
Ronnie Hillman even said that Monty Balls handled it a lot better than he did.
Really?
Yeah, Ronnie Hillman said he was starstruck every time he went into the frickin' game.
I would be. I'd be.
So if his jitters are kind of down at this point, because we know he's gonna be our solid number one. Willis McGahee's still MIA for OTAs, which he usually is, but at this point you gotta just kind of feel like we're scooting him out of the rotation.
I don't for these younger guys. I don't worry about that sort of thing. Like Marshawn's been not at OTAs for 2 out of the 3, or no. He hasn't been there twice out of
Well, a lot of these guys have their own off-season regimens, and if you know the offensive playbook, you know what you're going to be doing. Just continue with your off-season regimen. Get healthy. Stay healthy. Come training camp. Let's see what you got.
There you go. Yep. There you go. Well, sweet. That to me, I don't know. Did you have any more Broncos talk, Brandon? Because I was pretty sure that's what you had. That's all I had. Gerrad, any other points?
That's all I got, really.
Perfect. Well,
right now, that's it.
At this point, I think there's only one thing to say.
Yeah.
That's left here.
In Johns we trust.